Right now, I am here with the king of technical analysis, Sami Abu Saad, because we are going to discuss why he stuck with Nvidia over the last couple weeks through earnings. My name is Michael Camo. I'm director of content for T3 Live, and of course, we're here weekly with Sami, so he can teach us what's going on and explain to us what's happening in the market. So today, we are going to talk about whether Nvidia can keep going, how Dell looks into earnings, because that's been another big AI name, why Sami's liked Robinhood. That's been, a real superstar stock in the SST newsletter. What's going on with FXI? China's pulled back a bit, and we're going to then get to a little bit of education. Sami's going to talk about his true love, which is the 20 MA. I know Sami has a lady in his life, but I don't know if she can measure up to the 20 MA. And then we will talk about an interesting question, whether volume is actually useless. So, Sami, how are you doing today?
Doing great, thank you.
Okay, so Nvidia came into the SST's newsletter at 922.51 in May before earnings, and it's had a huge run up since then. So I was wondering if you could take us through what got you into Nvidia, why you stuck with it, and where you see it going from here. And I'm going to pull your charts up on the screen if you want to switch to Nvidia.
Of course, let's do it. I was looking for something else, but let's do it. Okay, so Nvidia, is like a no-brainer kind of play. So the semis collapsed a little bit. Look at the SMCI dropped really hard. Look at AMD, right? They dropped really hard. Look at this, from 225 to 145, almost 50%. And what does Nvidia do? Nvidia comes in a little bit and recovers right away. So it does come in a good amount, recovers right away, and starts to base. It's a no-brainer. Play the breakout, right? And it continues to base into earnings, which means it's higher on earnings. So it popped on earnings, and we've been trailing it bar by bar. So it's been pretty good. It's actually been really amazing. From 922, I think, was the entry. It's at 1140.
Beautiful. Okay, so I want to bring up a related name because also I know you have Dell in the SST newsletter, and Dell has been going crazy the last few weeks, and it reports earnings tonight. So what do you see for Dell? Do you think it's too extended?
So Dell is an open position, and yes, it's up a pretty good amount, like a really nice amount. So here's the thing. Yes, it's extended, but the way I see it is, and the reason why I'm looking to hold it is it dropped really hard today and it's recovering. So as long as the Dell doesn't comes back down and close weak, as long as it doesn't close weak, I'm going to hold it through earnings as well. Now, is this as good as holding Nvidia through earnings? No, because this is extended. Nvidia was over here, was basing into the rising 20, into resistance, which means it was absorbing whatever supply there was without pulling in. So this is better. It's always better when you have a strong stock that's basing at the all-time high into the 20, as opposed to a stock that's extended to the upside. But I think as long as it doesn't close weak, I'm going to hold the Dell into earnings tonight.
Okay, let's talk about another interesting name, because I thought you were going out on a little bit of a limb here with this one, Robinhood, which has been another big winner. You got in 1872 and actually added today at 21.26. So I know that a big challenge for a lot of people is adding to something that's already working, because I think a lot of people have this, they want to average down, but you're averaging up on Robinhood. So what made you love Robinhood so much?
So what made me love Robinhood is their app is amazing. I'm kidding.
Oh, wow.
I'm kidding. Totally kidding. What made me love Robinhood is the monthly chart. And this was a really nice play in the newsletter also on this day. We got it on this day. And then unfortunately trailed out maybe this bar. I don't know which bar exactly. Maybe this bar, I think, when it started to look like it was going to break the uptrend. But the reason why I got it over here is because of that amazing monthly chart. You see how the 20 was curling and starting to point up? That's called the transition A breakout. This is one of my favorite entries for long-term plays. okay, for swing trades as well, but especially for long-term trades. So that's the monthly chart of Robinhood, and the first entry on it was, I don't know if it was here, I believe it was here, and then we got out of it, and it didn't really come in much. I mean, it came in and went back up, reclaimed the 20 period moving average, and started to base. So I called it again long with a stop under the base, and then today I added to it because it has a 1, 2, 3 setup on the weekly chart. So over that doji bar, stop under it, and just so you know, Robinhood, I mean, hopefully it's just getting started. Hopefully it goes up to 40. That's the target that I picked for the newsletter. But you know, the truth, it's up 59.05, so $5,900 on Robinhood already, and I'm hoping, I'm hoping it gets up there, which is where it's supposed to get if this transition A breakout on the monthly were to work out. So we'll see. But Robinhood, love it, love the monthly, and today it gave us an opportunity to add on that 1, 2, 3. So we'll see how it plays out.
Okay, I will have to admit, Sami, that you really got when you said that you were in love with the app. I was like, really? That's pretty funny. Okay, all right. Why don't we talk about China? Because we've been talking about China for weeks. You know, FXI had that, and Yin had that huge move up, and it's pulled back a bit. Is it entering buyable territory? I will pull up the chart right here.
So here's the thing. I'm not in the FXI, but I am in the Yin, and I have 5,000 shares. So I've given back. On the Yin, I was up over 60K. I've given back quite a bit, okay? But not just the Yin. I have a bunch of other stocks, China stocks. So it went a little bit The Yin is the leverage of FXI, by the way, just so you guys know. The Yin is the leverage FXI, which is what I like to trade. It went a little bit climactic. But the thing about long-term trading, if you get into a long-term play, you're not supposed to exit on the way up. You're supposed to exit if the stock fails or if it goes totally climactic. Climactic means parabolic, okay? So it got a little bit parabolic here, but I didn't want to get out of my long-term position, right? Because that's the worst thing that you could do, is to get out of a long-term position and only to see it continue higher, and now you lost your position. So I didn't want to get out of it, and as a result, I put in a really deep pullback. It may be a good time to get back in it or whatever, because we have a deep pullback into a good support area. But the problem is, because the pullback is deep, because the pullback broke the 20, because the FXI or the Yen, it went a little bit parabolic. Now it's hard to trust it. I am still in. I did give back probably over 100K overall on the China stocks. I was up over 200K on the China stocks, because I have, I don't have just the Yen. I have the BOB, I have the JD, I have the BZ, I have the CWeb. I have the HUYA, I have the MNSO, I have the YMM, I have the TME, but the TME didn't come in at all. So I've given back a bunch, but I'm hoping that this is just a temporary pullback. Is it the right time to get in? I think it's at a good spot. I think it's worth a try. Is it a fantastic setup? Is it an amazing setup? It's not. But I'm just hoping that this ends up being, or we are at a near bottom. LI from the China stocks looks good on the hourly chart. The LI is is an EV stock. So if Tesla moves up, then the LI will probably move up with it. If Tesla crashes, it will it probably won't work. But this one may be okay. Billy, I'm in also. Another China stocks. Like I said, I have a bunch. I don't have just one or two, because in my mind, FXI bottomed. So and it's been in a downtrend for so long. It was actually in a downtrend for I don't know how many years, and then broke down. and then it double bottomed finally. So I'm hoping we get back up to here maybe. I'm not expecting it to go all the way to the all-time high, but just to even, somewhere in the 30s would be good on the FXI. So that's what I'm hoping for. We'll see. I do think it's worth a shot on maybe not all the names, but some of the names. By the way, CRM also intraday, I think bottomed for today. We're in it long. It's up $1,100. So it looks good to me, the CRM, but more as a swing trade, not as a long-term trade. Okay.
Okay. All right. Now let's pull back to, I guess, a little bit, a couple of small educational topics. So we always see in your charts are super simple because a lot of people have the giant flying spaghetti monster of trend lines and moving average, and you only have basically the 20 and 200. So specifically the 20, why is the 20 ever present on your charts?
So a lot of things, a lot of uses. One of which is it speeds up technical analysis. If you have a nice 20 MA, I mean, if you have a trend, let's say the TME following the 20 MA, not to get out of it if it's hugging the moving average, right? If you look at the daily, I didn't even mean to pull up the 5 minute. Look at the daily. As long as the price is staying close to the 20 and the 20 is pointing up, it tells me, you got to stick with it. By the same way, the 20 MA, so it speeds up technical analysis. It gives you great entry points. So when the stock pulls back to the 20, that's usually where it bounces at or off of. So it gives you it acts as support and resistance in uptrends and downtrends. It gives you a good way to measure extension or, how overbought or oversold the stock is. There's just so many good things about it. Why not? I mean, it's just a line on the chart, but I did try because I prefer to always stick to just price action and nothing else. And so I did try to trade without the moving averages, which are the 20 and the 200. That's what I use. And I struggled for 2 weeks. So I put them back on. Volume, I can trade without it. Almost no issues at all. I don't need volume with the exception of when I'm trying to catch the bottom or trying to catch the top. Like the CNC yesterday, we played off the lows as a climactic bottom. When you get this spike in volume and the stock is down a lot, that's a very good signal that the stock is bottomed out because it means that a lot of people rushed out of the stock all at once, and the stock is down a lot. That's the panic selling, and it's the bottom usually. So I do use volume, but volume I only use it to catch the bottoms and the tops, right? For climactic buy setups, climactic sell setups. That's pretty much it. There are a couple other uses for volume, but the most useful way to look at it is when you're trying to catch the bottom and the top. But the moving average is just, again, it's amazing. As long as it's hugging price, you want to stick with the position. You don't want to go against it. If it goes far away from the moving average, price drops way below it, that's when you look to fade it. When it gets back to the 20 MA, that's your target. So it's just so useful. That I think it's the most useful indicator that one can have on a chart.
Okay, so and if you're looking at longer term ideas, like if you're looking at a monthly chart, let's say you're looking at the 20 MA on the monthly time frame, correct?
Correct. Like look at the TME. If I didn't have that 20 MA on the monthly, this is one of the longer term positions in the newsletter, doing really well. We did take half, but it's up 50%. So if I didn't have that 20 period moving average on the chart, would I have pursued it aggressively? Probably not. So even on the monthly, if you see that 20 starting to point up, that already should tell you, oh, we are probably bottoming. Like, you can see it on Hood. We were talking about Hood. Notice how the 20 is starting to flatten out and point up. When it starts to curl up, that's amazing. We talked about Nvidia on the daily chart. Notice the 20 declining and flattened out and started to point up, to curve up. That's actually the best time to go long, is when the 20 starts to curl up. So I use it on intraday charts. on daily time frame, weekly, monthly, on every time frame. It's just an amazing, amazing tool to have.
Okay, guys, before we let Sammy go, because I know Sammy's. Oh, yeah. Actually, Sammy, this is funny you bring this up. So last week I got in trouble because I forgot to bring up Bitcoin. We got some complaint. People are very angry on YouTube that we didn't cover Bitcoin. So Miracle Sammy, this is why Sammy, he read my mind and brought up Beto. So what's going on with Bitcoin?
I did read your mind, and what a great mind you got, Mike. Um, Bitcoin looks good. It's a weekly buy setup, similar to the yen. It dropped really hard, right? It dropped really hard, and so it's on the way up here. It's not, it's not going to go right back up. It's like somebody falling off of the balcony on the 5th floor. They're not going to be able to dust off and go about their day. They're probably going to be in the hospital for a while, versus somebody, falling off, tripping up, and falling off, while walking. That's no issue. You dust off and you move on. So this was a very deep pullback, and so on the way up here, it's it didn't go back up right away, but it's looking good. That's a weekly chart of Beto, and you can see that one is starting to curl up. So I think today is actually not a bad day to get in it. I did send out an alert and called it long at 25.60, so somewhere here, because I could tell it was failing. It was bottoming, and I played it off the hourly chart. So I did send out an alert. I don't even know where or when, what day, but it was about 25.60 was the entry on it, on the Beto. But that was several days ago. So it is an open position in the newsletter. But if it wasn't, today or tomorrow, I think was a good day to get in it. Notice again that 20 MA is curling. So I like it. I like Bitcoin a lot. I hope it skyrockets. That's what I got over here. I always have Bitcoin charts. I have Bitcoin itself, and I have Beto, and I have BITX, which is the leveraged Bitcoin. So I have BITX. Yeah, doing pretty well.
Okay, all right. So why have so many different instruments? Like, why not just have like all of your money in one Bitcoin instrument?
I did. I had all my money in Beto, and that's it. When it was moving up here, I trimmed some of the position. I trimmed 2/3 of it actually, and then I decided not to. I decided to use buy some Bitcoin itself, because when Bitcoin was falling apart a little bit, Beto is great to trade, or IBIT, or whatever you want. These are good. The problem is these trade during regular market hours. Bitcoin trades 24/7. So if it happens to bottom out outside of market hours and you miss the bottom, it's a big deal. So I moved some of the funds into Coinbase, and I ended up buying, I don't know how much I have, to tell you the truth, but I ended up buying probably like 200 something K worth of Bitcoin, because again, when it bottoms outside of the market hours and you're trading Beto or IBIX, you're not going to be able to get it until the next morning. So that's the only advantage of trading BTC, Bitcoin, as opposed to trading IBIT, the tracking ETF. That's the only advantage, is that you have access to it 24/7 in case you want to get out, you can, or it bottoms and you want to get in, you can. The reason why, so that's so initially I had Beto, only Beto, and then when I trimmed out of 2/3 of it, I got back into instead of Beto, I'm using the leveraged, which means I can free up some capital, because I had over $1 million in BITO alone. So to free up some of the money, I decided to use BITX, which is the leveraged Beto. So those are the reasons. Nothing like incredibly sophisticated. It's just what works.
Okay, is that ever? I'm going to ask a bit of an odd question. I want to get inside Sammy's mind a little bit. So are you like thinking about markets in Bitcoin like all the time? Because I'll say this, I think the benefit of IBIT is that you can actually like turn it off. But like if it's like let's say it's 7 or 8 at night, and I don't know what you're doing. If you're watching TV or you're eating or something, are you ever thinking, wait, where is Bitcoin right now? Should I go trade it?
No, but if I, so it's a good question. You're right. One of the advantages of trading Beto, let's say, this is a buy setup, by the way, on MNSO. It's a Chinese stock. Looks okay. I like it higher. And then Berk is a buy setup too, 15-minute buy setup. Anyways, you're right. One of the advantages is that you can turn it off. But when it's starting to fall apart a little bit, which BITO was doing here, started to fall apart, the fear is that you would miss out on it on the bottom. So it's best to have some funds available to take a position in BTC, in Bitcoin itself, in case it bottoms. Now, am I thinking about it 24/7? No, I am thinking about it 24/7 at inflection points, at a point when I think it's gonna turn up or bottom or top out. But as long as, let's say, I'm in it from here and it's moving up in my favor, I'm not thinking about it. I may not even look at it, not even once after the market closes. But when I feel like, okay, Bitcoin is getting really interesting, then I'm thinking about it all the time. Correct.
Okay, guys. Okay,
That's
so
the life
guys,
of a trader.
yeah, Sammy is. I kind of want to put a GoPro inside his trading rooms because, I think it's hilarious how Sammy can be such a good interview while he's trading, because Sammy, he must have two brains because he can talk to me and give me full attention, but somehow trade at the same time. So, guys, I hope you appreciated all the information and ideas Sammy gave us. I hope you go to t3live.com/SA and you can download Sammy's ebook and you can learn some of the best technical analysis secrets from the $795 Trading the Pristine Method course. And if you download this ebook today, I promise you will have a great weekend. The weather will be great. Everybody will be nice to you. You'll find money on the ground when you're walking down the street. So again, t3live.com/SA. It's totally free, and I personally guarantee you will have a great weekend if you download it. So Sammy, as always, wonderful talking to you, and we'll be back next week. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, everybody.